Starting off at number 5, parents. Look, let's just get this one right out of the way now, okay? Parents, y'all can be the worst sometimes. The whole myth of the boogeyman came about as a way for parents to scare their kids into acting right. Like the whole, you better behave or the boogeyman will get you thing. Absolutely the worst. Now, whenever your kid is going to sleep at night in their dark room, the house will do what houses do and settle. Or something might fall, or the wind will blow outside just a little harder than usual, and now that kid is laying in bed terrified, thinking that something is coming out of its closet or under its bed, despite that kid's best efforts to be the best behaved kid you've ever met. Congratulations, you terrified your kid, but on the other hand, nightlight sales have probably been given a bit of a boost, so hey, you scared your kid and contributed to capitalism. Round of applause for you. Number 4, Crybaby Bridge. Down in Georgia, where all kinds of creepypastas and urban legends are running amok, there's one bridge famous for its boogeyman, Crybaby Bridge. Now, there are many bridges that have picked up this name in the US, but this one stands apart. What is an unassuming rickety wooden bridge with no safety rails during the daytime is the most haunted bridge in Georgia by night. The legends say that a single mother, crying and hoping for the end, was driving one rainy night with a small passenger in the back seat. Blinded by the rain and her own distraught tears, she drove off the rickety bridge that would later become Crybaby Bridge. The water below was not horribly deep, but for a woman who didn't care for her life and the helpless one in the back, the water brought the end. Since that day, a legend arose warning against anyone who dares stop on the bridge and turn off their headlights. Who better to test out urban legends than a group of 6 bored teenagers who had read the urban legend and decided to investigate. They piled into a car and drove out to Crybaby Bridge on a dark, unlit road surrounded by dense thickets of trees and brush. The teenagers drove out onto the 30-foot bridge as it creaked and crackled under the weight of their car. All at once, they agreed to get out of the car, but as they did, something below used their movement as cover for its own. The group grew quiet, trying to bring on whatever was supposed to happen, but as they grew quiet, so did the nightlife around. No crickets, no birds, no frogs. After a moment of silence, the faint sound of a crying baby slowly began to echo from downstream. Below the bridge, something was moving, trying to slip through the water without making too much sound. Then, a figure, man-like but all out of whack, appeared at the end of the bridge. It had a huge face with little beady black eyes, a huge nose but flattened. The face was covered in thick, reddish hair, and from its mouth were the sounds of a crying baby. But as the teens shone their light on this creature, the crying stopped. Now, the 9-foot tall creature stepped forward, a huge, muscular creature with elongated arms. As the teens recoiled in horror, another similar creature began reaching up from under the bridge, trying to get a hold on an ankle. This was a trap. What happens next? Well, you have to read the rest for yourself, sorry. Number 3, the Bye-Bye Man. Eli was a graduate student living in the town of Sun Prairie, Wisconsin in the fall of 1990 with his girlfriend Catherine and a friend named Jonathan. Someone had found an old Ouija board in an attic and for fun gave it to the 3 friends who had been living together. Just like any group of friends would, the 3 began conducting experiments with the board, seeing if this whole superstition thing was real. Turns out they had a pretty wild ride. After they believed they had communicated with a number of spirits, they decided to make an effort to contact a spirit that had actually been a living human. The board eventually transmitted the story of the Bye-Bye Man, a blind albino man born in Louisiana sometime in the 1920s. According to the story, his parents put him in an orphanage in Algiers, New Orleans, where he was shunned. The boy eventually escaped the orphanage and turned to the life of a killer. Jumping on trains and traveling around wherever he wanted, he was accompanied by his companion called Gloomsinger, which was a dog-like creature sewn together from the tongues and the eyes of his victims. Well, unfortunately, the 3 friends, Eli, Catherine, and Jonathan, were told via the Ouija board that the spirit of the Bye-Bye Man had latched onto them and that he was coming for them. Apparently, anyone who thought of or said the Bye-Bye Man's name became his next target. He then began riding the rails in their direction, sending out Gloomsinger to locate the person. Once they were found, Gloomsinger would let out a shrill whistle to call to the Bye-Bye Man. The history of the Bye-Bye Man is traced back to a teenager who told a reporter that he took his family's lives because the Bye-Bye Man made him do it. Luckily for Eli, Catherine, and Jonathan, they were not driven to hurt anyone, but they were definitely scared out of their skin. There's a movie based on this story, but in that one, things don't end so nicely. Number 2, Terry Sherman. The great thing about the boogeyman is that it has no one form. It's just the manifestation of whatever people fear. For the Native American Navajo people, this would be the skinwalker. Now before I get into this, everything I tell you is coming from the brief amounts of research I did when making this video, so if I get something wrong or mispronounce certain things, feel free to politely correct me in the comments below. Similar but not the same to the Russian Baba Yaga, the skinwalker is a kind of wicked sorcerer who can transform into, occupy, or disguise themselves as an animal. It has deep roots in Aboriginal American folklore. Other tribes throughout the region also have their own versions of the skinwalker. The Pueblo people, Apache, and Hopi people each have their own unique interpretation of what a skinwalker might be. Some believe that skinwalkers are produced when a medicine man abuses magic for evil, corrupting the natural order of things, turning them into an evil entity capable of controlling and turning into animals, or even possessing others. There's also another version that says that one becomes a skinwalker by performing some kind of taboo act, similar to the tale of the Wendigo. In Navajo stories, the Nagloshi were agents for the holy people when they were first training humans in the blessing way. Nagloshi were supposed to abandon the mortal world with the holy people, but a few decided to stay behind. Their greed and desire to stay in the mortal plane corrupted the power the holy people gave them and transformed them into malicious, semi-divine beings. Now, I'm actually putting myself in quite a bit of danger here even talking about this, as these beings are not something you are supposed to talk about. Even the people who named this being aren't willing to talk about it, especially not with outsiders, so be courteous and don't go asking about it. Most of you have likely heard of Sherman Ranch, also known as Skinwalker Ranch. This ranch near Ballard, Utah is apparently a cursed lot of land that has had many different kinds of encounters. One is of interest to us right now. Terry Sherman, the owner of the property way back in 1996, was walking his dogs around the farm late at night when he came upon a wolf. A wolf 3 times the size of a regular one with glowing red eyes and an incredibly mean look. Terry claims to have attacked the beast, but no evidence is actually available. Was this the Navajo's boogeyman? Who knows? Number 1, Cropsey. Okay, this one is going to get a bit more real. In Staten Island, USA, a tale of a boogeyman-like creature named Cropsey was famous among many kids who lived in the area. Cropsey was said to be an axe-wielding man who escaped from a mental institution and would lurk around in the dark tunnels below the old abandoned Willowbrook State School, a facility for children with intellectual disabilities that was shuttered after allegations of horrific mistreatment were exposed. The story says Cropsey comes out at night to snatch young people and bring them back into the abandoned Willowbrook. But the horror tale was actually a horrifying reality. Cropsey was in actuality Andre Rand, a suspected killer who was convicted for the passing of 2 young individuals in the 1970s. In keeping with the tale, Rand worked as a janitor at Willowbrook in the mid-1960s. Before his capture, Rand was homeless and living in a makeshift campsite on the grounds of the abandoned school, not far from the Seaview Hospital that was so closely tied to the Cropsey legend. Rand's story and the tale of Cropsey continues to fascinate and horrify kids and even adults to this day. In fact, 2 filmmakers, Joshua Zeman and Barbara Brancaccio, grew up on Staten Island and listened to the terrifying Cropsey stories when they were children. As adults, their curiosity led them to dig deeper into the urban legend of Cropsey and the real cases of the island's missing people. They even made a documentary, Cropsey, that explores the bizarre case of the boogeyman who seemed to come to life.
Coming in at number 5, we got Giuseppe Tartini. In the first episode, we discussed another virtuoso musician who is rumored to have made a deal with the devil to become incredibly talented. The speculation was just that, all rumors. But in the case of composer, violinist, and music theorist Giuseppe Tartini, his dealings with demons seem to be a little more explicit. Tartini was well renowned at his time and proved to be quite influential in how he composed and played his music. But of his hundreds of musical pieces, one stands out above the rest. Sonata in G minor, Trio de Diavolo, the Devil's Trill. Devilry and demonic imagery were not as commonplace or as well received back then. Folks could get into trouble if they weren't careful with their artistic mores. However, as Tartini was a popular performer and composer, he seemed to get away with it. Apparently, the inspiration for this piece came from a vivid dream. During this outrageous nightmare, the devil appeared and played the violin with incredible ferocity and speed. This was way back before the devil went down to Georgia, too. Maybe he's just a big fan of stringed instruments. Tartini woke up and immediately tried to replicate what he heard in his dream, but was unable to capture the full effect of the song. Kinda like a tribute to the greatest song in the world, alright? Even though Tartini couldn't replicate the exact song from his dream, the Devil's Trill became his most legendary tune. The story behind it, coupled with its name and complexity, made people believe that he either had made a deal with the devil or had been possessed by a demon to create such music. Some even believed that he grew an extra finger on his left hand that made the difficult trills throughout the piece a little more easy for him to play. Trills, double stops, high-speed runs, and a plethora of mood and tempo changes make this song extremely challenging, even for modern violinists. Even so, Tartini wasn't fully satisfied with the piece. It's said that he was so frustrated by his inability to bring his dream to life that he would have broken his instrument and quit altogether if it wasn't his primary way of making money. Or maybe, and this is just speculation on my end, he made a deal with the devil in which he forfeited his soul for an incredible piece of music, yet was unable to reach the heights he dreamed of. That's a heavy price for a result you'd hoped would have been better. Coming in at number 4, we've got Jason Ethier. Yeah, we're gonna talk about this one. It's been a little while since YouTuber JStation had his channels taken down, and with them all sorts of videos involving demonic possession and connections to the afterlife. It's a little insane when you look at all the different videos he's put out there and all of the exaggerated claims he made about his experiences. However, he still managed to bring in millions of views and convince his audience that a whole lot of what was going on was real. From reaching out to dead celebrities with a Ouija board in an act of shockingly poor taste, to participating in 3 AM challenges where he calls fictional characters and demons in the wee hours of the morning, he's faced plenty of criticism for his bombastic and ridiculous style of making videos. But here's the thing, he's still made plenty of money doing these things. So here's my not so serious analysis of his YouTube career. JStation made some sort of Faustian deal for his success. Why else would he make so many demon-themed videos? Why would he lie to people and put out patently ridiculous content? Why would he pretend that his girlfriend died, then rent a church, buy a coffin, and then plan on doing a resurrection video? Boom. A demon granted him the ability to rake in views and sell merch in exchange for his soul, and probably his integrity. Now, you can look to any of his videos where he claims a demon is present and see that they're pretty goofy. A lot of yelling and running around in darkness while speaking directly to camera. Most folks with a history of debunking paranormal activity wouldn't take them very seriously, and any claims of real demons in those videos are easily disregarded. But even so, the clickbaity nature of the videos worked phenomenally well and launched JStation and those he worked with to celebrity status. Maybe more infamy than fame, but still. In the end, he probably didn't really summon a demon to trade his soul for YouTube success, but he did, in my opinion, trade his rectitude. Coming in at number 3, we've got Grant Morrison. Now here we are with another artist supposedly summoning demons. We've talked about musicians and even ended up discussing an author last time. Now there's a playwright and comics artist on the list. Grant Morrison is well known for their experimental, non-linear, and countercultural approach to comics, and has helmed all sorts of DC publications over the years. They've also famously dabbled in different types of magic, sometimes getting close to the demonic side. In an interview with Sci-Fi, Morrison had this to say about demons. "It's a bit of both. Demons definitely exist if you consider demons, as I do, to be personifications of negative feelings and states that are familiar to all of us. Fear is a demon. Hate is a demon. Addiction is a demon, as is self-loathing, or guilt, or hopelessness. Everyone's felt the fangs of these beasts in one form or another. Basically, a demon is a human-hating, self-destructive state of mind given form or voice." Medieval grimoires portrayed these disordered, diseased, or chaotic states of mind as a jumble of cladogrammatic chaos. Flies with crowns, angel-winged toads, and wolf-headed eagles with swords. These demons have been with us since humankind became self-aware, which is what gives them their supernatural, i.e. eternal quality. Hate has been around forever. As individual human beings, we can all become possessed by hate. Someone, somewhere, right now hates someone or something. Therefore, hate never dies. Hate exercises an undying power over human affairs. Therefore, hate is a god, as love is a goddess. When the individual hate you briefly feel connects with the hate that never dies, you are in touch with bleak divinity. A magical ritual designed to summon hate into your heart would align your personal transient experience of hate with undying cosmic hate until nothing remained in your heart and soul but hate. That's what it means to summon a demon. So, while their experience with demons might not be what most folks expect, there's a lot of interesting information to consider. Coming in at number 2, we've got Edward Centeno. For a quick moment, we're going to return to the 3 a.m. YouTuber state of mind. Edward Centeno, along with his constant companion Nikki, run a channel called Arcade Craniacs, and most viewers have a tough time figuring out whether it's parody or not. All of the hallmarks of these so-called demonic YouTube videos are there, from FaceTiming fictional characters to running around in the dark after witnessing something creepy. To date, Centeno has supposedly summoned Sonic.exe, the imposter from Among Us, Chuck E. Cheese, Freddy Fazbear, Elmo, SpongeBob, and more. Now, most of these demonic apparitions are just people in suits, or so it seems, but the commitment to the gag, the over-the-top reactions to everything happening, the weird references to other YouTube drama going on woven in, and all of the incredible performances from all involved make these demonic summonings more entertaining than most. I think they're just having fun with it and poking fun at other YouTubers. Probably. And coming in at number 1, we've got Emperor Justinian. Now, this might shock you, but stick with me. A lot of people believe that politicians and other public figures are demons in human form. I know, controversial. But there are few examples as well researched and documented as the Eastern Roman Emperor Justinian. Procopius of Caesarea penned a tome called The Secret History that included plenty of scathing remarks concerning this emperor. The author truly believed that Justinian was a demon pretending to be a human. His wife, too. Of the many claims Procopius makes, there are a few that stick out. Apparently, Justinian's mother claimed that he was a demon too. Folks would often see his head disappear from his shoulders as he exited rooms, only to be right back in place when he was next seen. According to some, his face would melt into featureless flesh and he'd become unrecognizable. Now, that doesn't really seem like stuff a normal emperor would be accused of, right? Could it be that Justinian was a demon? Or maybe he summoned one for a chance at power and gave up his form to the entity in question? Coming in at number 5, we've got Aaron Layton. Authors tend to be a reclusive sort. So many tales exist detailing a storyteller's retreat to the wilderness to find peace so that they can pen their next great work. Someday, that'll be me, and you'll never hear from me again. But until then, I'll just look at others and their foolhardy demon dealings. See, being alone in the woods tends to also inspire people to look deep within and find out what they truly desire. Without the distractions of modern life, other people, and a strong Wi-Fi connection, folks have to face down plenty of hard truths. If these truths are difficult enough, or if their dreams are big enough, they might be tempted to strike up a deal with the demon. I'm not sure if Aaron Layton had actually done this or not, but his children's book seems to imply that he's an expert in this field. He wrote a book called A Children's Book of Demons, and inside are a bunch of fun and funky illustrations detailing demons the world over. Accompanying these illustrations is plenty of prose, encouraging children to be creative while dealing with their problems. It's kind of an edgy concept for a kid's book, but nothing too insane. However, it got lots of attention upon being published, drawing the ire of exorcists, religious leaders, and uptight parents everywhere. The book encourages readers to imagine demons, draw sigils, and attempt to use these strategies to assist them in their daily life, like a kid's Bible storybook, but more in line with Satanism. Most would look on and get a good chuckle out of this, but the previously mentioned folks condemned the tome, claiming that it would imbue the children with evil energies and ruin their lives. This leads me to assume two things. 1. Aaron Layton knows enough about demons and Satanism to write a book that will offend people, and in his studies might have summoned one or two. Maybe they helped him write it. And 2, some of the parents who ended up buying this book for their kids actually witnessed some demonic activity. Nobody would be getting so up in arms about something totally harmless, so there must be at least a little bit of power here. I wonder what the kids use their demons for. Maybe acing a spelling bee or getting extra helpings for dessert. Number 4, Charlie. Staying on the topic of children summoning demons for a moment, let's discuss this viral smash hit of a demon summoning trend. Remember when this was all anyone was talking about? Oh boy. Part Bloody Mary, part Ouija, and part internet challenge, Charlie took the Western world by storm. It kind of inspired its own miniature satanic panic as concerned parents and news organizations rushed to understand the appeal of the game. In fact, I bet it would have all blown over much more quickly if folks just calmed down a little. But kids and teens across the nation were playing this game and supposedly successfully summoning a demon. Charlie, if you couldn't tell. The game works like this. Set up a little 2x2 grid and a piece of paper, writing yes and no in each of the squares. Once this is ready, balance 2 pencils perpendicularly atop each other so that one can sort of spin freely. Now you're ready to play. Chant Charlie, Charlie and ask some questions. Apparently if the top pencil moves, that means Charlie is present. Is he good? Is he bad? Who knows? But a lot of folks took advantage of this interesting stationary-based phenomenon and claimed that they had managed to summon real demons. After asking some particularly salacious questions, they got answers they didn't like and began freaking out. Did this really hurt anyone? It's questionable, but like I said before, it inspired a whole lot of new coverage and panic amongst the morally upright who believed that the kid would encourage their kids to take their paranormal investigations a step further. It's been a while since someone went viral for playing Charlie Charlie, and I can't say that I've seen any major new updates concerning folks who supposedly summon demons. So maybe it was a temporary visit, one without lasting effects, but who knows? Somebody test it out for me, alright? Let me know if Charlie's still kicking and what he offers in exchange for a soul. Coming in at number 3, we've got Robert Johnson. A classic tale is that of the Faustian deal. Somebody wants something so bad that they're willing to give up their soul for it. Success in life, and then an eternity of servitude to a dark force in the afterlife. Worth it. Robert Johnson decided he wanted to be the ultimate blues guitarist and would give anything to make that happen. Some say that he sold his soul to the devil for the skills required. When he played, his talent was so impressive that much of his audience had no choice but to believe it was acquired through paranormal means. I'm sure that did a lot for his ego. Looking into this story, it's said that he met a devil at a crossroads and Satan tuned his guitar for him. Tenacious D who. The devil went on to teach Johnson how to master the blues, which was the prevalent guitar genre at the time, and from then on he was a genius on the fretboard. No one could keep up with him, and he impressed countless listeners. However, he was met with an unfortunate fate, which only served to intensify the rumors about his skill. At the young age of 27, he passed away with foul play suspected. By that time, though, he had produced 6 studio records and thrilled folks across America. If your legacy lives on for ages like his, is that a fair trade-off for an early death? We can't ask Johnson himself, but I'm sure he'd have a strong opinion on that one. Coming in at number 2, we've got Sid White. Originally interested in witchcraft, Sid gradually became aware of and enamored with demons. Believing that a demon is an entity that has wandered our earth for ages, possibly even for eternity, he has supposedly summoned demons on multiple occasions. The rituals remain largely the same across the board, but small changes can affect what demon you'll summon. Write this down. You'll need a dark room, candles, herbs, a Ouija board, and blood. All pretty easily attainable, don't you think? Especially that blood bit. You're full of it. From there, you need to know a specific spell or chant, especially if you're looking for a specific demon. Knowing what you're getting into is pretty important too, because if you're summoning demons willy-nilly, you're gonna have a bad time. A lot of people choose to summon demons to strengthen their connection with another world. This allows those who do so to draw increased strength and insight and hopefully improve their life some. However, Sid refuses to talk about what happens once he summons a demon. That's his private time, apparently. I mean, there are a lot of things people do behind closed doors that they probably don't want to discuss with the world at large. I pulled a lot of this info from an interesting article on Vice, and I'm sure Sid didn't want all the Vice readers to know his secrets. Check out the article if you want some more insight though. It'll be in the description. Coming in at number 1, we've got Niccolo Paganini, another masterful musician making morbid arrangements under cover of dark. Paganini was well known for being able to do things no other musicians could even dream of. As a child, he was a wunderkind, quickly picking up and becoming proficient in all sorts of different musical instruments. Being a child prodigy comes with a lot of pressure though, I'm sure. By the time he was a teenager, he was an alcoholic. However, he managed to overcome this, and in his early 20s, he became a well-regarded star, composing complicated and popular pieces of music and performing all over Europe. Some of the stuff he composed, nobody else could even attempt to play for years. He could play 3 octaves across 4 strings in one hand on the violin, and won a Stradivarius for sight reading a supposedly impossible piece. One of his most famous compositions was called Witch's Dance, which raised even more eyebrows. So maybe in his darkest hours of alcoholism, he reached out to a higher or lower power and asked for power beyond his wildest dreams. Either that, or he decided to get it together. He supposedly had really long fingers too, which may have helped with his incredible musicality. Striking up deals, looking for power, and wondering what might be on the other side. All good reasons to summon a demon, but also maybe not great reasons. But hey, it's your life.